Hey guys, Brian Stevens over here at Mortgage Shots, also known as the National Real Estate Post, previously Think Big, Work Small. Got a whole bunch of years, about 15, 16 years of bringing you videos on a daily basis. And on top of that, we got probably 5 years in our current format. Been across the country, spoke with a lot of loan officers, a lot of real estate agents, shot a lot of videos, worked with a lot of companies, spoke with a lot of people. And man, I gotta tell you, I have never seen anything like what I'm seeing now. And I can say that personally, up front, I have never seen what has taken place in the mortgage brokerage industry over the past 6 or 7 years. It's actually about a decade. Never seen anything like this before. And listen, I had a lot of friends out in the mortgage brokerage space. And when I came out against some of the things that I started hearing some whispers about 10 years ago and was very public about it, this was at the time when a lot of people on social media decided that it's a great idea to get together and get mean and start attacking. And this is what took place. And I was on the receiving end of that at some points, and I saw that a bunch of other, frankly, really decent people who didn't agree with what thematically was going on in the mortgage brokerage space get wildly attacked with accusations, with lies, with smears, and it was ugly. It frankly has no place in the business, and I was critical of it. And because of that, you're on the outside looking in. Let's just put it that way, and that's fine, because sticking to my guns became a little bit more important to me. One of the things I talked about is, where did the independence and the independent mortgage brokerage go? The whole idea of being a mortgage broker is being independent. And when I saw people all moving around in groups and following the lead, blindly following the lead of others, I said, boy, this doesn't feel terribly independent to me. I've done a number of videos on it on my show, Mortgage Shots. Where is the independence in the independent mortgage broker? Guys, I wrote loans as a mortgage broker for over 10 years. I was once part of the largest mortgage brokerage in the country. It was First Priority Financial. I was one of the first brokers working for them. I was the youngest broker working for them. I wrote loans in Northern California, right outside of Travis Air Force Base. When I first started writing loans in the late 90s, my God, I was probably 50% of my loans were VA loans. I was helping vets when helping vets wasn't trendy. Bring this up for any other reason, for those of you who don't know me, or those of you who only know me as somebody who's made videos about the mortgage space. That's not true. I've actually written a whole bunch of loans in my life. I lived through and started doing videos during the 2008 meltdown, and that was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. And of course, that had a huge impact on me. And then here's one thing I learned in the process, and I got to tell you, and I hope you take this, because I'm bringing my last 30 years of experience. I want to bring it to the table and kind of share it with you about what I'm seeing. Is I saw during the meltdown that it took down a lot of people, and what it really taught me was humility. You see, humility was a big one. See, I was on top of my game, and I was pretty damn entitled. Felt pretty good about myself as a loan officer. Owned a bunch of houses, had a lot of money. And then this industry, just like gold mining, it can disappear overnight. And boy, did it do it for me and almost every other loan officer in the country. But what I also saw was this taking place with other mortgage companies, with other brokerages, with other wholesale lenders. The same sense of entitlement at the corporate level as I had on my independent individual level as a loan officer. See how the whole thing goes. When I first got into loans and I wrote my first loan, and we're going to get to the United Wholesale stuff here in a couple of seconds. When I wrote my first loan, I remember looking at my check and it was like $2,600. I swear to God, I'm not joking you. I was looking around because I thought somebody was going to be mad at me. I really did. I'm like, whoa, I just got $2,600 for doing what? And I'm like, well, my boss isn't pissed. My processor isn't pissed. That's the boss's wife at the time. There's only a couple loan officers there. The clients seem happy about this whole thing. The realtors seem to be thrilled to death about this whole thing. And I got $2,600. I was waiting for somebody to get pissed off like I was stealing. I'm not kidding. And I said, oh shit, if this is all I need to do to go out there and earn $2,600, get out of my way. I'm going to go do a whole bunch of this. You see, because at that point, I was beyond grateful for the whole thing. It was crazy. It was beyond my wildest expectations. I was super, super grateful. Couldn't believe it, and went out there like so many new loan officers, and I tore it up. Nothing was beneath me. There was a $2,600 check on the other side of this thing. I need to knock a door, talk to a realtor. Realtor's an asshole. I don't care. None of it mattered to me, because my compensation for that activity so outclipped any of my expectations based on all my previous life experiences. You see, I just graduated from college, and I was, working over as a bartender on a riverboat and at a record store, and, making pennies. So I was super grateful. Now, I've seen a lot of people in the mortgage space kind of follow the same thing. But then what happens is that gratitude starts to erode. All of a sudden, getting those checks wasn't as special as that first one. You had yours that were great. You had clients who were great, realtors who were great, wholesale lenders who were great, but it was never as special as that first year. This is one of the reasons why loan officers, they have a downturn at the end of their second year. It's not because they don't know more, because they certainly do know more than they did when they first got into the business. So why do we collectively go down with our income after 2 years? It has nothing to do with the market. It has everything to do with what we have between our ears. That that gratitude starts to get replaced with ego, right? Shit, maybe I'm pretty good at this stuff over here. Maybe this is what I deserve. Well, I don't need these guys as much. And that entitlement starts to take hold a little bit. And I'll tell you my story. By the time I got to 2008, I was pretty goddamn entitled. All that gratefulness and gratitude that I had early on was replaced by entitlement. I had bought into my press clippings. I was great at what I did. I was a fantastic loan officer. I had a shit ton of money. I had a bunch of houses. Everything was going great. Man, I was on easy streets. But that gratitude wasn't there as it had been before. And when the market shifted, I paid the price because I wasn't doing the things that I was supposed to do. Now, on a corporate level, like I said, we saw this before. You see, you had people like Countrywide's Angelo Mozillo. Angelo Mozillo, I don't know if you remember this, he was the most loved guy in the mortgage industry. If you hear Angelo Mozillo's name right now, you're starting to think of all the movies about the meltdowns of the 1980s, the 2008 year. And when you think of the poster child of the 2008 meltdown, you're probably going to be thinking of Countrywide, and that person over at Countrywide was Angelo Mozillo. But Angelo Mozillo was the most beloved guy a year before the meltdown in the entire industry. Countrywide has set the bar in terms of what a mortgage company was supposed to look like. He was so beloved that he was doing all the loans for everybody in the House Financial Services Committee. He was doing the loans for everybody over the Senate Banking Committee. He was doing loans for everybody over at Fannie and Freddie. And hell, he even did the loans for the Dodd-Frank Act. They were called Friends of Angelo. I've talked about this ad nauseum before. And then in a moment's notice, whoosh, it was gone. And he became a pariah, as he still is this day. It's interesting how our fortunes can change so quickly now, isn't it? Now, I can only talk about, from down here in the steerage, I can only tell you from my perspective what I can tell you what I've done, where I've screwed the pooch. And I did, and it was moving from gratitude to entitlement and allowing my ego to get inflated. Has anybody seen any of that going on in the mortgage space very recently? I'll tell you where this one kind of began for me. This whole one came to me when the brokerage industry put out that letter about wholesale lenders. I can't believe that we've got mortgage companies out there, wholesalers, who have retail divisions. Anybody know any wholesale companies right now with retail divisions who swore they never would? What a joke. They're going directly after your real estate agents. They're not even trying to go to your clients. They're going to your real estate agents and nix you out of the whole thing. Funny how things change. But anyways, the whole idea was, we've got to get these lenders who we're sending our loans to, our clients to, and we got to get them to quit marketing for those refinances when they come available. Even though your EPOs could have been 3 months and 6 months later, they're eating those things on their end. It's not your client. You don't own that person. When you broker a deal, you are sharing that client with somebody who's the funding source. And they have their reps and warrants and their obligations, which frankly supersede yours. But I get it. That sense of entitlement. You cannot market to my client. How dare you do this, right? And we got a couple of those wholesalers to do it, and then a movement had begun. But what was lost in the whole thing was a sense of entitlement, and I brought that up, and the rest is history for Brian. But here's the thing. What everybody failed to recognize is like, okay, just do the math on this one. This is a round robin thing here. If I get 3 wholesalers to agree to quit marketing to my clients, they're just going to pick up their stuff, and they're going to market to other people's clients who they closed. And vice versa. Those who you don't have an agreement with, they're now going to market directly to your clients because they're all public records. When you think about trying to stop people from getting to your clients, because remember, they're your clients. It's not the privilege of you getting their business anymore. It's the entitlement of them being your clients, and how dare you market to my clients. But the truth is, at the end of the day, everybody's marketing to your clients. And unless you're looking at your clients and taking care of your clients, you can go ahead and get any agreement you want. None of them are going to work. The only solution to that was actually taking responsibility for your business and its success or a lack thereof, and stop looking for your failures externally. That's just my thing, saying, hey, just time out. You kind of missed a little bit with the math here. This doesn't work. But then what happened is that movement that started kind of pushing on, and I saw more entitlements coming. And listen, I know that there's a bunch of great people in these groups, and I'm just going to point it up. And I think if we're honest with ourselves, we could say it as well here too. But then when we saw the brokers are better movement that was starting to get pushed, there was a mean group out there who was going and just viciously attacking loan officers who didn't fall in line with what their thought processing and what their philosophy was. Looked a little bit more like brainwashing than it looked like honest conversations. But you know what's really interesting is when you saw these vicious mob attacks that were taking place on social media, I find it ironic now that everybody who was involved with those vicious attacks on social media are now viciously attacking each other on social media. It's like once we lost the prey to go ahead and chew on, we're going to chew on somebody else because we found that this process is very successful. Well, moving on from there, what we saw is a movement grow where the brokers are better. And this is like, I love the idea of brokers are better. The saying to me felt like something that we would say like on a, like on a playground in 8th grade. But I guess I kind of get it. I mean, whatever. The idea of camaraderie is great. The idea of working together. And then I want to be very clear about this. The vast majority of people who are in brokers are better, absolutely fantastic people. I'm not suggesting any way that the entire group was doing this, but there was a faction of it who was doing it. And then that spurred out to other different groups out there. Well, then what we saw is we've got leadership of this whole movement, at least from my perspective. And through that leadership, we've seen people who are clear winners and clear losers in it. Now, the winners in the brokerage industry over the past 10 years is by and large because they were doing a great job. You can't deny that. UWM, great technology, the best in the industry. A message that was propagating that I am here for the broker, that brokers are in fact better. I am the advocate for brokers. It's a great message. If it was that simple, it's a great message. Great pricing, great products, great service, great technology, well-deserved market share. But see, somewhere in there, from my perspective, I think a lot of that gratitude moved to a little bit of entitlement, and then it moved a little bit more and a little bit more. Gratitude to entitlement. And as I go back and I look back on the Angelo Mazzillos of years past, and I think of a conversation I had with Dave Stevens. He's the past president of the Mortgage Bankers Association, head of FHA. Great resume, an absolutely great person. I remember having a conversation with him about a decade ago, and I think we were talking pre our current conditions, and what he said is, he said, you know what? He goes, nobody owns the top of the mountain in this mortgage business. You only lease it for a moment. See, when you think you own it, that's where you're entitled. When you know that you're at the top, you ought to be grateful for it because it's just a lease and you want that lease to keep going. It's the idea of ownership. It's the Angelo Mazzilloing of the world that causes companies to ebb and flow and flux. Ask yourself right now, in this industry, in our hard times, have we seen companies that have made some decisions, taken some actions that seem to be, from an outsider's perspective, counterintuitive to what somebody who's grateful for their position and working hard for the industry and their loan officers would otherwise do? And I think the answer is yes. It comes in many forms, guys. Again, guilty is charged over here as well. I'm just telling you where my perspective is on this. So I want to share with you guys a few things from an article that just came out. This is an inevitability from where I sit for a lot of reasons. I think it's an inevitability because, one, well, when you're the biggest target out there, you're going to have more people, you're going to have more groups looking at what you're doing. So if you have not seen this article from Hunter Brook, this just came out, and I want to know what you think about it. I'll give you what my thoughts are. They launched an investigation today on United Wholesale Mortgage. UWM says independent mortgage broker shop dozens of lenders to find the best deal, but the nation's biggest lender pressures those brokers to push deals their way. Hunter Brook found $39 billion in mortgages that came from brokers who sent UWM more than 99% of their business. Okay, I just spoke with a loan officer about this today. And what she said, she goes, I send a lot of business to United Wholesale Mortgage. Their systems are fantastic. And there's part of me that agrees with it. I'm like, you know what? If you built a better mousetrap, I think we should get our regulators out of the way and just let us do whatever the hell we want to do. I do. I think it's the obligation of every wholesale lender out there, frankly, to do a lot of what United Wholesale Mortgage did. Work your ass off to give your loan officers the best opportunity to go out there and kick ass as much as humanly possible. And they did that, and they reaped the rewards of it. What comes into the problem with this is what comes into play here is the whole notion of independence. Now, if I'm sending 99% of my business over to United Wholesale Mortgage, and they do not at that day or at that time have the most competitive pricing, or if they're out of the market, if that's market manipulation or not, but if they don't, Brian Stevens, as an independent mortgage broker, I have a fiduciary, legal, and moral obligation to my client to get them the best deal. And if I'm shopping that deal based on convenience for me as the loan officer in the processing department, or if my relationship with that wholesale lender is deeper and more personal because I believe that they advocate for me more, or if they're flying me back to Michigan and they're sending me on trips and letting me hit the gavel over on the NYSE because I send them a lot of deals, I'm not fulfilling my fiduciary at that point. I could be perceived as sending them those deals based on things that are other than what's in the client's best interest. And this, by the way, is not me talking. This seems to be the lawsuits that are directed towards some of our largest brokerage shops in the country right now and United Wholesale Mortgage. Again, not me, guys. Not me. In just the last 4 years, Barr had paid United Wholesale Mortgage between an estimated hundreds of millions and billions more in closing costs than people whose brokers found them typical loans. This is according to Hunter Brook's data analysis led by computer scientists, financial reporters, and a certified fraud examiner working with the mortgage industries and the experts. That's the one thing about this article, guys, that you have to really understand here, is this thing is wildly comprehensive. To put it in terms Ishmael to understand, our data indicates these extra closings could cost potentially fund a Brady Beal contract of $50 million a year for 60 years. An enormous amount of money is at play here. So here's the thing. If we're fixing pricing, knowing that it's going to lead to the downfall of some of our competitors, is that working in the best action and the best interest of mortgage brokers, but more importantly to their clients? We keep having this conversation about brokers, but brokers technically are the conduit between the wholesale lender and that consumer who's buying a house. If that wholesale lender, any wholesale lender, is behaving in a manner that is contradictory to the fiduciary that loan officer has on that transaction, are they then in violation? And by extension, I think a lot of our regulators and certainly a lot of lawyers out there would say yes. Here's the whole point that I wanted to get to with you guys. The whole point of this is you as a mortgage broker, could this come back and bite you in the ass? Yeah, I'm talking about you, the loan officer. Could this come back and bite you in the ass? I don't know. Let's wait and see. Let's find out if that's the case. You're not going to have to wait long because I've already got the answer for you. I'm afraid you're not going to like it. See, everything that's taking place by Hunter Brook-Pillar is building out a comprehensive case as to why everybody in the process should be sued. That's what they're doing. The loan officer should be sued. The brokers should be sued. The wholesale lender should be sued. Maybe the reason is because there's too much money on the table and it's too juicy not to do it. Maybe they're doing it because they're looking at inspiration from the real estate industry and saying, holy shit, I can't believe they just got billions of dollars from these real estate companies for everything that they're doing. And by the way, those real estate companies, do you know the same Mark Calabria who worked as the head of the FHFA? Do you realize that same FHFA government-sponsored enterprise group right now is being critical of what's going on over here in this article of United Wholesale Mortgage? Do you realize that they were the ones who were backing what was going into VA underwriting guidelines that demanded they follow the course of what NAR was doing? They said, yeah, we like this whole commission thing over here. In fact, we like it so much, we're not going to let vets pay for their commissions. We're going to put that into underwriting. A vet can't pay for their commission because we like what NAR is doing. Now that same NAR is getting sued for that, and we're stuck with underwriting guidelines that are in place right now that fly in direct contradiction to everything that's going on right now, and we got a complete clusterfuck. But yes, right now, it's that same group who's coming out and being critical of what's going on over here in the brokerage space. That's a point for concern. And again, everything that's being outlined here is for a lawsuit. Hunter Brook also found that the lender's specific closing costs of a mortgage in the brokerage channel more than doubled, 1,223% of the loan amount in 2023. It's up from 54.9 in 2021, the year of the ultimatum amid the inflationary environment. Now, ain't this one a little tricky? Again, I'm not going to sit here, and my goal is not just to pound on United Wholesale about some of the decisions that they've made, but I want to kind of look at this and analyze it. All right, so one side of me says, well, listen, when the cost of compliance goes up, when the cost of technology goes up, and we got to keep adding forms to our loan applications, yeah, that's going to cost money. Oh, have you looked at inflation lately? You're saying the cost more than doubled? Have you gone to go buy a sandwich at Subway? Have you looked at the cost of cars right now? Everything is more expensive. It stands to reason that that's the case here. But if we're looking for a boogeyman, and this is what lawyers do, they're not going to judge you on a scale of what you did good versus what you did bad. That's not how lawyers work. The lawyers are going to go out there and find the stuff that they can go ahead and turn into litigious opportunities, and they are going to expose them, and they're going to amplify them. So if you looked at this in a microscope, and that's what lawyers are going to do, they're going to take this point and they're going to put it in a microscope. They're going to say, well, wait a minute here. The year the ultimatum came out, we saw underwriting costs across the board get more expensive for consumers. Remember, not the loan officer, for the consumer, for the client. In other words, the actions of United Wholesale Mortgage ultimately cost consumers more money inside and outside of United Wholesale. Is that fair or not fair? I don't think it's fair. But if we want to put something in a microscope and dissect it, we can certainly come to this conclusion. Or maybe it is. I don't know. Now, here's the one that I personally take umbrage with. Here's where, when we go from, I am the greatest advocate for brokers on the face of the planet, I am out there to protect the brokers, nothing will get in my way from protecting my brokers because I love brokers so much, a point of gratitude to where it no longer looks like gratitude. We can call it gratitude. We can dress it up as gratitude all we want. We can say, I am the greatest fan of brokers out there. We can say it, but if our actions do not match our words, then is that the case? When does our logic come in and we say, you know what, you're saying one thing, but God damn it, your actions are telling me something else entirely? Again, there's a lot of brokers out there saying, yeah, we got the greatest advocate for brokers. I get it. I hear it. I'm buying it. I believe it. I'm not critically looking at this, but I ask you not to listen. My judgment doesn't matter in this. I'm just asking you a simple question here. United Wholesale Mortgage has sued several brokers alleging they violated the terms of their ultimatum by shopping for home buyers with both Rocket and United Wholesale Mortgage. This prompted countersuits on antitrust grounds, which are moving through the legal system, but have yet to find success, at least partially, because judges have ruled that the plaintiffs didn't sufficiently support their claims about the detrimental effects of the ultimatum with data. Atlantic Trust Mortgage. One of the brokerage companies sued by United Wholesale Mortgage said it never signed the ultimatum, and this is according to an interview with the National Real Estate Post. That was an interview with me. I did this interview with these guys. Hunter Brook's review of court filings said that's not true, but United Wholesale Mortgage is seeking $355,000 in damages for 71 loans that Atlantic Trust allegedly sent to Rocket and Fairway. Now, I strongly urge you, go check out that interview. These are small mom and pop brokerages out there. These aren't filthy rich people. These are people who are agenda-driven. They're trying to do the best job for their loan officers, and they're trying to do the best job for the clients. And they said what's in the best interest of my clients, my community, and my company right now is to have more options on the table than what I'm being allotted based on this ultimatum contract that I allegedly have with United Wholesale Mortgage. And the reason I say allegedly have, because they never signed the damn thing, and yet here comes the check for $355,000. It's never filed. Go look at it. The whole it's filed right now. They never signed it. But that didn't stop United Wholesale Mortgage from going out there and looking for $355,000 damages for 71 loans. Now, I ask you, if you're a mortgage broker out there, does that sound like the greatest advocate in the world for brokers? Is this the behavior of somebody who is out there advocating for brokers? This sounds like it's downright hostile to brokers. How many cease and desist have been put out? How many lawsuits have been put out? And the numbers are beginning to look staggering. It feels more Stalin-esque than it does support, doesn't it? Now, hold on a second here. You're not going to send me your business. You're not going to give me all of your business. Now I'm going to sue you. Now I'm going to come back with EPOs that are 3 years old, 2 years old, whatever the case. I don't know. I got maybe some EPO. I got some things that I can go ahead and drop on your shoulders and bury your company because I can't force you into what I think is the best decision for who? For the client? For the brokerage? Or is it for the person who's sending out the invoices? If I'm invoicing you because you're not doing what I want you to do, I'm going to invoice you for $355,000. Am I doing that at that moment because I'm coming from a place of concern and care for the industry and for those clients and for that brokerage? Or am I doing it for another reason? Ask yourself, what makes the most sense? Again, my opinions don't matter in this thing, but you start looking at it, and I got to tell you, from my perspective, the optics don't look good. They especially don't look good in the case of Atlantic Trust Mortgage. These are good dudes. They run a good shop. They're doing the right thing. But listen, if you get in the middle of a fight of titans, you're gonna lose. It's also being alleged that the mortgage matchup site, which is powered by United Wholesale Mortgage, is not putting the best match at the top, but it's putting the best matches of people who send the vast majority of their loans to United Wholesale, thus misleading the viewing population, the potential home buyers. Not my allegation, theirs. And again, there's part of me that says, hey, listen, if I have a mortgage company, I want to put things out there that are helping people who help me. That makes sense. That's just good business. And it is good business. But you see, this isn't really about business at this point, is it? Well, hold on a second. This is about business, but it's not about the business of equitable behavior towards clients or consumers, is it? No, we are talking about the business of who can take the biggest piece of the pie of the billions of dollars that are out there. This has nothing to do with the consumer. This has nothing to do with that individual loan officer out there. Here's my two thoughts. These people don't give two shits about you. None of them do. That's what I think. I think everything right now, I think the concern and care and consideration for you and your business is all based on a line item on a spreadsheet. And it's the numbers that you're producing. And it goes like this. The better the numbers, the more I'm going to like it, provided I'm the one getting the bulk or all of your business. And the minute that stops, I don't think I'm going to like you too much anymore. The question is, what do I do about it? Do I improve my business model? Do I go to you with more kindness? Do I take away the ultimatum out there? Or do I intimidate you? Do I use scare tactics? Do I try to financially burden you? Do I try to financially bankrupt you? Do I try to mislead the viewing public out there? What is it that I'm supposed to do? I guess here's what the answer should be, or here's what the answer I would imagine is, I'm going to do what's the most effective. I'm going to do what's the most effective, and I'm going to do what's the most effective and legal. Am I going to do what's the most effective and legal and moral, or can I also throw immoral in there? Do you think it's immoral to file these type of lawsuits? Do you think it's immoral to send cease and desist to have people stop talking about their interactions with your company? Do you think that's immoral? Do you think it's immoral to have mob squads to go out there and bully other brokers online, bully other individuals online? I don't know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but I got to tell you, it's shit for optics, and it's putting a stain on the entire industry. This whole thing is so damn ugly. It's unbelievable. And it's actually gotten to the point where it's a national story. Ain't that grand? All right, here's what I want to sum up to you guys. It's really this simple. What's in it for the article? You don't think they don't have an axe to grind? Everybody has an axe to grind. So what's in it for them? Are they these moralistic consumer right advocates? Maybe, maybe not. But here's what I know. They want a lot of money for their activities and their actions. They want a lot of money for bringing all this shit to light. That's what they want. At the bottom of the article, it says, if you think you're paying too much on your mortgage, boy, doesn't this sound like the stuff with the real estate agents? If you feel that deal from 2 years ago that you paid commissions that were too much and you got screwed on the deal, be part of our class action lawsuit. Doesn't it sound like that? If you think you're paying too much on your mortgage, well, everybody feels like they're paying too much on your mortgage. If you got a 5 and a 7.5% interest rate, you're pissed off about it. I don't think right and wrong is really the question here. Is can we get away with it or not? Was it legal or not? But what I'm concerned about, was it moral or not? That's what I would hope other loan officers would say. More than anything, is the behavior that's the conduct going on right now, is it moral or immoral? But at the end of the day, what really matters are what the Titans have to say. And they say, if you think you were paying too much for your mortgage, visit wasirippedoff.com. Boy, that's not leading. I wonder what's behind that domain. I wonder what's the purpose of this email. You can go to wasirippedoff.com. You can go to that domain to learn if you might have used an independent broker. That is you, my friends. An independent broker who doesn't shop you. Because guess what? This ain't just about United Wholesale, guys. This is about your brokerage, and this is about you. Because when you go to that, when you click that button, were you ripped off, this is what pulls up. Put in that NMLS number, and we'll tell you if you might have been ripped off or not. Now, in this case, we put in an MLS number where they said you probably weren't ripped off. Right? Now, we also put another one in here that says you probably were ripped off. But in both cases, what they do is they say, hey, listen, we want to hear from you. So all you got to do is go to this UWM investigation at BSFLIP.com. Just go to this domain called UWM.investigation. That doesn't leave a whole bunch to the imagination, does it? This is class action, baby. That's all this is. And when you go there, you have an opportunity to tell your story. And I'll tell you what, the juicier your story, the bigger the chances you're going to get a call from these lawyers. Because this, my friends, is happening. Now, I want to point this out to you. And this is my final thought here. Here's the whole thing. Where our policymakers and our legislators have failed us, and they have, where enforcement has failed us, and it has. You know who hasn't failed this industry for change? The goddamn lawyers. Boy, they've done it. They've done a bang-up job with this. If you look at what's going on in the real estate industry, by the time we're done with this in real estate, it will be unrecognizable, and I'll tell you, all for the worst. All for the worst. 100% of it, and I'll argue that point until I'm blue in the face. Or in my case, getting more red in the face. But it's all for the worst. The lawyers did it, and the legislators and the agencies who have governing authority over us did not a damn thing about it. They let the entire industry get ripped apart. They're not done yet because there's still more meat on the bone, and lawyers sue. Lawyers sue, and real estate agents, they sell real estate. So when the arena of battle is a courthouse, the real estate company is going to lose every time, right? And that's the problem with lawsuits. They all happen in courthouses. So guess who has a competitive advantage? The people who do nothing but sue about these type of things for a living. That's all they do. That's their job. It's not to right a right. It's not to find an injustice. It's to find a hole in your defenses and go and exploit it for right or wrong, and it can go either way. But make no bones about it, inspiration was found with what took place with the National Association of Realtors, with the multiple listing system and the largest brokerages out there, and what they did is they fleeced them of all their wealth, and they're still suing them, and they're going to keep doing it until there's nothing left, unless our policymakers come in. So you're telling me that you don't think that these lawyers are saying, well, shit, this has been really profitable, this has been kind of fun, easier than I thought it was going to be, I can't believe these guys folded so fast, and now they're looking over over at mortgage lenders, and I got to tell you, this one is juicier than the real estate agents. I'm not here to cast judgment on if it's right or wrong, if it's legal or illegal. I'm just here to tell you, ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what's going to happen. And they've made it very clear who they're going after. If your client has been sued, they're going to go after anybody they can get a buck from. Now, my thinking is they're probably not going to go after loan officers because you don't have enough money, and times are shitty right now. I think for some of the larger brokerages out there, yeah, they're going to come after them. Just like, my friends, what is taking place with the real estate companies right now. You see, these real estate companies, it started with the Remaxes of the world, the corporates. It started with the Realogy corporates of the world, whatever they call that now. It started with the Keller corporates, but then they started going after different things. Have you noticed this? Oh, no. If you have a team, if you're running a large team, are these corporates going after some of their larger teams out there to help them offset these massive costs for money that for which they don't have? Are they going after them? And the answer is yes, they are. In the case of Keller Williams, you know what they're doing? They're going after their downlines, right? That's what they're doing. There's 4 lawsuits against that shit right now. So you don't think that those same lawyers or other lawyers are finding inspiration from what took place in the real estate community? If you think I'm wrong, go pop on a radio if they still have radios anymore. I don't think they do. Go find the top. If you have a 14-year-old daughter, go find their 5 top downloaded songs that they're listening to and tell me if it's either Taylor Swift or somebody trying to sound like Taylor Swift. It's copycat. You find a formula that works, you beat it in the ground, right? Well, we've got the opportunity here. So if I'm a large brokerage out there, then my numbers are hedged in the direction of, I basically use United Wholesale Mortgage. Yeah, I'm tripped out about that a little bit. If I'm out there bragging about it, yeah, I'm tripped out there a little bit about it. If I'm being ostentatious about my behavior, if I'm very public about my behavior, yeah, I'm a little tripped out about that. If I have a history of showing and bragging about my tight relationships with some of these people and all of my business is going to them, yeah, I'm a little concerned about that too. And it ain't me. So anyways, my friends, if you would like, please leave a comment down below. I know there's going to be people who hate this. I get it. Share this if you could. If you agree or disagree with it, keep the conversation going because, listen, this ain't going anywhere anytime soon. So more to come in the future. And listen, the more voices that we get involved, the better off we are. So